Sergei Pavlovich, the best heavyweight boxer in the heavyweight division? No. The best grappler, technician, technical maestro, or conductor? Not a goddamn chance, no. Sergei Pavlovich, guys, is literally just a big slugger, all right? I just rewatched every single one of his UFC fights I've just rewatched. And I found myself laughing at the lack of defense, at the lack of this tactical ability. Okay, Sergei Pavlovich, guys, might be the funniest fighter in the UFC. I just go and give his fights a watch. They're just hysterical because this guy is talked about as being this, this super technical heavyweight boxer. He's got such clean hands, man. He's got such clean hands. And I watch him fight, and the guy's just out here brawling. Like, he just goes out here big old slugging. And again, he'll post these videos on his Instagram where he's shadow boxing and he's hitting pads in the gym and whatnot. And he looks amazing. He looks so polished and crisp and whatnot. But it's when you see him actually fight, he just goes out here and bulldozes people. No defense, never puts his hands around his chin. You'll never catch Sergei Pavlovich defending his chin in an actual fight. But it doesn't matter because he's got a granite chin. And I really mean that. He might have the best chin in the heavyweight division right now, aside from Francis Ngannou. So guys, do not take this as Sergei Pavlovich isn't that good. I'm just saying I had myself a nice hearty laugh watching his fights because of how effective his style is. Like, offensively, he's got really good punching technique. He's got a freakishly long reach, an 84-inch reach, a nasty uppercut. I think he's got the best jab we've ever seen in the heavyweight division, considering that it's a lot more powerful than that of Cyril Gane's jab. And his best punch is the lead hook. He's got a disgusting lead hook on him, too. That's like the punch that he ends up finishing people with. But I've just been watching this guy fight and saying to myself, like, nobody is going to be able to deal with this guy on the feet just because he has a granite chin, a freakishly long reach, and this filthy power. And I don't think Tom Aspinall is any different, okay? I just rewatched a lot of Tom Aspinall fights, too. I spent the last couple of hours rewatching Sergei's fights and Aspinall's fights. And even though Aspinall looks like there's more of a method to the madness on the feet, I even notice him and he's doing these things with his arms where he honestly looks like he's conducting a symphony. Darren Till did the same thing. These British guys, when they have confidence, they have their chins in the air, their hands are waving around. They think that they're on top of the world. They think that they're untouchable. And if he goes out there trying to be all fancy and schmancy in front of Sergei Pavlovich, he's going to hit the fucking floor. Okay? I really do think that. Aspinall has these little T-Rex arms compared to Sergei Pavlovich. He's got his chin wide in the air. It's just the way that he's built. He's got a really long neck. His skull is kind of tilted upwards a little bit. And I think you guys will agree with me on this. There's always a worry or a fear that us fans have when we're watching a hyped up British prospect fight. And that's not only that at any given moment they might break a bone. And those are just those British bones that have a reputation of being a little bit brittle. But more than that, it is the fear that we have of the British prospect, the hyped up British prospect, getting chinned, right? And again, I mentioned the high and mighty and proud, chin in the air, the conductor stance. That's the vision a lot of the people have when they're going to pick Sergei Pavlovich to win this fight. But guys, I know Sergei has a chance because he just makes things work at the end of the day. He just goes in there. He's a fucking amazing fighter. Like, we talk about skills and the techniques and whatnot, the X's and O's. Sergei Pavlovich just knows how to fight. But I'm still going to pick Tom Aspinall, which is a very risky pick. I totally understand that he could go out there and get flattened in the first round. Because in my mind right now, although Sergei Pavlovich is not a guy that has defense, he literally has zero defense. No defense at all. Watch his fights back. Tell me that I'm wrong. I already know people are going to be in the comment section saying, wow, bro, terrible take. Fuck you if you think that this man is actually really defensively sound. Straight up. You're at that point, you're just glazing for the point of glazing. Just rewatch his fight. You're going to be glazing for the point of glazing. His offense is his defense. That's literally it. He's still code red. You can't stand with him, period. Because although in the striking, I get that Tom Aspinall is good there, it's just too much to deal with. You just can't risk it, man. You just can't. You can't risk it. Tom Aspinall, if he takes this fight to the ground, though, will completely dominate, and I think he will get a first-round submission or a TKO. Aspinall has a 100% success rate when it comes to his takedowns. There has never been a single person to stop Aspinall from taking them down. And not only that, nobody has ever gotten up to their feet on their own accord. Okay? Alexander Volkov, for example, got taken down twice by Aspinall. He got up the first time. It was not because Alexander Volkov just exploded up there with his strength. It was because Tom Aspinall let him up to play with him a little bit more on the feet after he beat him up on the ground with elbows and tried to go for a submission attempt and whatnot. And then he just fucked him up on the feet a little bit more. I really do think he allowed him to get up and eventually took him down again and submitted him within the first, 15 seconds of that second takedown sequence. You can't get taken down by Aspinall. It's the same thing. Shamil Abdurakhimov and Curtis Blaydes are the grapplers that Sergei Pavlovich has fought since that fight with Alistair Overeem, in which I think he's improved a whole lot. All right, I've talked a lot about the Overeem fight. At this point, that's not really something that I'm going to look at a whole lot. I think that it's pretty obvious, though, that most heavyweight fighters, if they get put on their back, are not going to have an idea of how to get out of that spot with someone like Aspinall or Jilton Almeida on top of them, one of these high-level grapplers, okay, that has speed, that has finesse, and there's very few of them, right? We're not talking about the Muhammad Usmans of the world. We're talking about the best grapplers at heavyweight that are just completely separate from the guys that we're normally used to seeing. Most of these heavyweights, they may be hard to take down, but once they're there, they're there. They're on their back. They're a fish out of water, a turtle on its shell. And Sergei Pavlovich may have great takedown defense, okay, because he was able to stuff a couple of takedowns from Shamil Abdurakhimov. He was able to stuff a takedown from Curtis Blaydes. This is a totally different takedown threat, okay? Unlike Shamil Abdurakhimov, Tom Aspinall is about 10 times faster with his takedown entries, okay? He's about 10 times sneakier. He's actually slipping shots and driving through people with these really athletic double legs or these outside trips. I mean, it's a completely different heavyweight wrestling threat than that we're used to seeing, which is the typical Curtis Blaydes bend over at the waistline and plod your way through it. And I'm referring to that takedown that Curtis Blaydes shot in the first round that Pavlovich ended up stuffing, but let's be honest, that was a panic takedown. That was about 10 seconds after Curtis Blaydes got rocked with a vicious jab right to the jaw from Sergei, and it had Curtis doing the jitterbug dance. It had him wobbling and bobbling all over the octagon. And like 8 seconds later, he just bends over at the waistline and reaches for the legs. Sergei Pavlovich didn't even get the underhooks when Curtis Blaydes tried to shoot the takedown. He just freaking moved his hips back, and that was it. Tom Aspinall isn't going to go out there to try to trade boxing combinations with Sergei. He's going to be looking to take him down. That's going to be his MO in this fight. He has a great team around him. His dad is his coach. He's grounded. These are all guys that are going to keep him humble. And he keeps saying things like, there's no way I want to go out here and get hit by this guy.
What is the game plan going into this one? Have you got to move about the octagon?
Well, I definitely don't want to get punched by him if I don't have to. I'm going to try and not get hit. That's the plan. Hit him, don't get hit. Who knows? Who knows what happens? I might kick him in the nuts if
I think he's looking to draw out a punch from Sergei to duck under it and to take him down with an athletic double leg or an outside trip. Now, it's going to be pretty difficult to do that. I totally understand. But if anyone can make it happen, it's a guy that has the movement, the footwork of Aspinall that could play the matador in this fight. And I think that it is not impossible to survive on the feet with Sergei Pavlovich if you have the threat of the takedown, because every single time I've seen Sergei Pavlovich fight, when a threat of the takedown is present, he's a little bit more patient. Now, I know I talked about him brawling. I know I talked about him slugging, and I really mean it, dude. Like, this guy just literally goes out there and slugs. He's a little bit more hesitant when it comes to his slugging when a guy has a threat of the takedown. Watch that fight back with Shamil Abdurakhimov. That was, I think, a couple of fights removed from that time he got stopped by Alistair Overeem, the crafty veteran himself who was grappling a whole lot more towards the latter half of his career. He was very patient. He wasn't throwing his hands a whole lot. Much more patient than he was in the Curtis Blaydes fight, but he was not throwing his hands a whole lot. And he eventually caught him with that lead uppercut, I think about a minute before the round ended in the first. And one-shotted him with the uppercut and had a couple of follow-up shots after that on the ground. But he was very patient, right? Shamil Abdurakhimov had the opportunity to shoot a couple of takedowns, but he's just not got the same athleticism. He's not got the same quick twitch ability, man. He's your typical plotty, fat, slow heavyweight. You can't even compare him to Tom Aspinall, man. You just can't. okay? And the same thing can be said about the Curtis Blaydes fight. Pavlovich went out there walking Blaydes down, but it wasn't the same run and gun and slinging him around that he showed against Tai Tuivasa and Derek Lewis, where he literally just started, as I said a million times, slugging, okay? He waited a little bit. He waited to feel that power of the plotty man, okay? And this is why it's so dangerous, because Curtis Blaydes, can you really tell me that he has any less power than Tom Aspinall? Like, for every time we've seen Aspinall hurt someone on the feet, Curtis Blaydes has the same amount of moments, right? Curtis Blaydes knocked out JDS, right? Curtis Blaydes knocked out the granite-chinned Chris Daukaus, okay? And I just bring that guy up as an example, but Blaydes actually does have like a KO threat on the feet, and he has a long reach. He has a longer reach than Aspinall. He actually has these really good straight punches, and if I'm just going to be honest about it, he may even have better defense than Tom Aspinall, because Aspinall has this real fancy movement. As I said, he's got that typical cocky British style superstar in the come up. He literally starts waving his hands around like this and darting in and out. Curtis Blaydes has a more basic high guard approach. And where was I, man? Essentially, Curtis Blaydes is a little bit harder to hit, in my opinion. He has a longer reach, and he's got pretty much the same amount of power as Aspinall. He may not have the same kicking game. He may not have the same movement. He definitely doesn't have better entries, but he's got a similar threat on the feet. I still think Aspinall can be able to utilize the threat of the takedown, where Sergei Pavlovich is going to be a little bit hesitant, because, again, watch that fight with Curtis Blaydes. He was a little bit slower to start really coming forward with heavy, heavy pressure, right? The first minute and a half of that fight, Sergei Pavlovich was very cautious, still throwing punches, but he wasn't letting go like he was in the last couple of minutes. He just wasn't. He ate those shots from Curtis Blaydes like Tic Tacs, man. Curtis Blaydes was actually stinging him hard, but they just didn't have an effect at all, which is why I really do think he has the ability to go out there and slug and not be super defensively sound. And I don't think Aspinall is going to be the one to make him pay. But if Aspinall can draw out one of these jabs, or if Aspinall can draw out a moment where Sergei Pavlovich is out there slinging, then he can take him down, right? He can duck under a punch. He can take him down. And once it's there, once Sergei's on his back, I really do think he's screwed. Unless he's going to present some next level Derek Lewis just stand up, I don't think he'll be able to do much about it. And unlike that moment in the Volkov fight where Aspinall has Volkov on the ground, within the first minute, he's elbowing him, he's trying to get him with a Kimura. Unlike that moment where he kind of lets him up, I'm telling you guys right now, Aspinall, it looked like he let Volkov up just to beat him up a little bit more on the feet. There's no way he's going to create enough distance for Sergei Pavlovich to get up to his knees and start to work his way up on the fence. I don't see that happening. Once he has him down, he's going to slow things down. He's going to work towards a submission. Who knows what it's going to be from Tom Aspinall, but I think that's where he'll dominate the fight. And I do think he's going to go out there, dance around on the outside, draw an attack out, and just really look to duck under the right hand of Sergei Pavlovich. And I know Pavlovich is going to be looking for that uppercut. He's very accurate with those uppercuts. But all it takes is one missed punch from him for Aspinall to get under him. So I guess this is just one of those fights where you're either trusting in Tom Aspinall to pull himself back to avoid crashing into the boxing range, which is just a lot to ask, because sometimes fighters, they have a game plan, but they're not able to go out there and do it just because they freeze up or they get hit once and the game plan just goes out the window and whatnot. But you're either trusting in Aspinall's ability to stay safe and to look for an entry for the takedown, or you're looking for a Sergei Pavlovich big old slugging fest. All it takes is one jab from Sergei Pavlovich to land clean, or one of those lead hooks to land clean, and Aspinall's going to be doing the jitterbug just like his boy Curtis Blaydes. And if that's the case, man, then that's very likely as well. Because again, guys, this is a worrisome pick. I just don't want to pick Sergei Pavlovich just because I still see a guy that's a little bit, I don't know, man. This guy could definitely be champ. He could definitely be champ. Francis Ngannou became a champ with a very basic skill set, and Sergei Pavlovich is a pretty basic skill set. But again, at heavyweight, it doesn't really matter, because if you're really just built like that, okay, if you're just that much of a killing machine, man, and you're just able to hit people once and all of a sudden the tide has changed and the fight's yours, Of course he can win this fight. And he's got a freakishly long reach. And Aspinall, as I said, if he just comes crashing through and if he takes the same approach he does to all of his other fights, he's done. And I mean that. Like, Aspinall, he can't approach this fight like he does his others. He can't be out here trading in the fucking pocket, man. Because if he does that, he's getting flattened. And the UK is going to be disappointed. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.